On the agenda tonight, we are resuming the collaboration analysis with Chris Liepe, and we're still looking at Led Zeppelin's Since I've Been Loving You. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. So we're going to be jumping straight back into it with Chris Liepe, and as always, if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, but let's get back into it.
So there's a little bit of instrumental here now, but the rhythm is another part of this budgeting, right? We have this little phrase that comes in, steps back, gives it a breath, gives it a beat, and then we have instrumental coming in. The vocal is able to rest and sort of regroup. But he's not being very on it with the rhythm either. It's a very stream of consciousness conversational approach with little bits of vocal acrobatics thrown in.
Another thing about it being a freeform jam is that part of the musicianship is not just throwing everything in all the time. It's relaxing in particular stages, not only vocally but instrumentally, of bringing the dynamic down and then just raising it up a little bit. And this is the great thing when you've got a guitarist like Jimmy, who is going to take you on a journey himself and give you that other lead voice that you can now be totally engaged with. And listening to all of the lead lines that he's throwing down, is that perfect a pair of having a great lead voice you just listened to, and we're just about to hear another great lead voice in the guitar. Interestingly, it's in the same space. A lot of singers will be a lot lower than the lead guitarist who's now doing a solo, but now we get another voice, but it's the same voice. No, it's a different voice from the same place.
Unique to Led Zeppelin in many ways there. You have the same range for the guitar and the vocals.
We'll jump back into it now and have a little listen on.
Sit up and cry, yeah. Oh, my tears, it felt like rain. Don't you hear that? Don't you hear the moan? Don't you hear that? Don't you hear the moan?
So the call and answer here that happens is what you were just sort of talking about, right? I mean, we have this high thing, and we have that sort of answers what Page was doing on the guitar, that very, and then he's doing that, and then we have Plant come in and sort of mimic that in a little way, and then we have that low on the electric. And Plant is down there also. So much felt like rain. And you hear his vocal posture change to almost a mope here. He's embracing sort of two different characters inspired by the guitar and letting his voice do whatever as he's immersed in these different characters. I think that's another really important thing to keep in mind for singers, is it's not about just singing notes. It's about you're a musical actor, you're a musical communicator, and you're drawing inspiration from your band. Accept all the different sounds representative of different emotions that come out of your voice, rather than just trying to sing the song. And that's what we hear Plant doing here. Is he's just kind of letting it all come out based on what his bandmate is doing. And then when the calling part comes in here, and the band comes in, everybody's kind of coming together, and then that energy is natural, not forced.
Yeah, it's having all of the musicians on the same page. No pun intended, but having them all on the same page, coming in dynamically at the same place, rather than, there's nothing worse than a band who just don't link in together dynamically, so they're not all, I mean, yeah, you can be playing the right chords, the singer can be singing the right notes, but if he's belting it and everyone else is a little bit held back, and then, you know, vice versa, it just doesn't give you that authentic overall personality of the band. And this is the great thing about the great bands, is they're almost naturally tuned into each other. So as soon as somebody pushes it a bit further, like you said, where we've got the vocal being pushed a little bit more, straight away we then get the guitar line, which is going to respond with the same feel of that lead vocal. And I mean, there's real subtlety to it, but there's so many different levels to getting to this final sound.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, I mean, just this really basic format of just, you know, playing a blues in C. But what I love about sometimes, I mean, Robert does this with his vocal, but Jimmy throws it in there as well. When you've got our standard pentatonics, and then going down, and I mean, we'll be talking an octave above that, but having that kind of sound, taking it to that natural minor place rather than your kind of standard pentatonic stuff. I love that sound, especially when it's got the rasp on there of a vocal, and you start to get the same notes being sung as they are played, and really used as a focal point.
That's been said a lot about Robert Plant, is that he sings like guitar players play rather than like a vocalist. And he's very pentatonic by default, very bluesy by default, but then every once in a while, you know, da-da, that's the ninth, right? I mean, that's the two, and to have that be focused on as a vocalist sounds a lot more, in at least the way he has it phrased, a lot more like a guitar player. And that's why Page and him play off each other so well, because Page is very vocal with his guitar phrasing, and Plant as a vocalist is very guitar-ish as a singer. It's so interesting. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Let's jump into it a little bit more.
Do you remember, Mama, when I knocked up on your door? I said you had the nerve. Tell me, you didn't want me no more.
I'm just going to jump in there because, I mean, again, I start to focus on the guitar, but we get this kind of the arpeggios coming in.
Yeah.
Again, this is just like a jam, but they're actively changing the way that they are playing throughout it. It's it's just a it's not just going to be straight strumming here, you know, a C chord. For
so many articulations.
Exactly. It's interesting for the whole point. Even when you're listening to great musicians, when you're listening to a jam, even the jam is almost arranged like a 7-minute song. There's all the different elements that you want to have there in like a 3 or 4 minute song, but they put that all into it. As musicians, they're not writing this out and going, oh, and then what I'll do is I'll then pick on the high E string, the B and the G. You know, they just do this all, you know, literally.
Off the cuff.
Yeah, off the cuff. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love listening to this kind of thing, because you don't really hear this a lot nowadays from bands on albums where they'll have, you know, a 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 minute track.
Well, it's all very, these days it feels like it's more, well, it is more planned. You know, oftentimes even live, people are playing to pre-recorded, you know, triggered loops or whatever. And so you don't have as much freedom. And I mean, there are bands that are still doing this kind of thing, but this is a perfect example of that. Just let's just ebb and flow as a band, even in the studio. So neat. Let's listen on.
Yeah.
Open my front door, hear my back door slam. You know I'm myself one of them newfangled back door.
I always love that part. He, you know, on my front door and hear my back door slam. You must have one of them newfangled back door. Like he's singing, and he's sort of in this, you know, soul singer mode, and then he just starts talking. They must have one of them newfangled backdoor man. Yeah. And he goes back into it. I love when we get to hear a vocalist break character or enter a new character in the midst of one thought or one line. It keeps things so real and genuine, and reminds us again that we are a musical actor, not just a singer. And that's a great line to remind us of that.
Yeah, it really is putting the drama into the performance and making the lyrical content stand out when you start putting that personality into it, because sometimes you might not understand what a singer is saying, but you understand it because of the way that they're saying it or that they're singing it. So there's a huge part of that in great vocalists, the way that they deliver the vocal. It's so much more than just hitting notes and, going through it with that regimented approach of, I hit all the notes, therefore it must be good. It's like, no, more often than not, it's about not actually hitting the notes, missing them, but missing them the right way.
Yeah.
Right, we'll jump into it again.
I've been working from 7 to 11 every night. It kind of make life a drag.
There was case in point, right? Like, the 777, that part. It was so sharp. I mean, you can see it. The pitches are not there.
Yeah.
In our world of pitch correction and precision, this should be unacceptable, but it is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great to see kind of where the pitch monitoring software's picked up the kind of peaks of the notes, and they're all in different places. No such thing as just hitting the note dead on. Like you said, that would happen with auto-tune and pitch correction. The producers nowadays, you can't release that because it's not right. But great. I mean, that's just full of expression. That's what you get when you're just listening to a guy let loose with his vocals. And probably a great indication of his vocal place on the day. It's great to hear someone when you can hear that it's a good vocal day, or that they're not holding back. They're just going wherever they want to. And probably a lot of the whole good and bad vocal day is just always letting your voice do what it does on that day and not worry about it. And then it'll probably end up as people saying it's a good vocal day because it sounds natural. It doesn't sound
you're
forced.
meeting yourself where you're at. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Right, let's have a listen again.
Baby, since I've been loving you, I'm about to lose.
So conversational, even in the midst of it being the peak of the song and that wonderful wail. That's like that's the third wail, right? And I think it's the last wail of the song.
Yeah, the G5.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? And he looks like he hit that even just a little bit above pitch, which is awesome.
A little bit sharp. Yeah.
It didn't stay there for that long though, right? I mean, he got up there and then went down to the D sharp 5, which is still very, very high.
Yeah.
But when I was covering this portion of the song, especially it being in one take, this is something that you have to save up for. You have to watch your disposition, where you are mental energy wise, physically, and make sure that you're not anticipating it from a place of fear, but like, okay, I've got this, but at the same time holding it loosely. Like if I slide up to that and it's not quite going there, I need to be mentally with it enough to try something different that will still allow me to be engaged with this take. And that's where he was going here. I guarantee you, he was not starting this song going, I gotta wait till I hit that G5. Now I gotta save everything for that G5. That's not really the mindset. The mindset is, I gotta pace myself for the finale, but whatever ends up happening with my voice is great. and I'm going to embrace what my voice gives me at that moment. Maybe it's a G5, maybe it's an F5, maybe it's something else entirely. Who knows? And you know that that's the way he approached it because this version's different than the other version, and the other version, and the other version. This climax here is in a different part in some of those different versions where he goes super high because he's feeling it in different places of the song based on what the band's doing, based on what his voice feels like.
I mean, it's probably then after the fact now, people that are wanting to try and cover the song, they get nervous about, that particular note. But it's like you're saying, and it is really interesting to hear that it's trying to get your approach the same as the guy who did it on the day, so that you're not worried about that note. And trying to not get stressed out about it, at the beginning of the song, thinking, "Oh, I've got to do that so much later on." But
it's more important that you hit the emotional engagement and character inspiration than it is you hit the notes. Because if you're trying to work up to certain expectations of someone else, of another singer, you're just going to be a bad imitation of what that singer is, because you're not in the space that they were in when they recorded. It's far more important to get yourself in a natural, emotive, and in this case, improvisational, free state of mind, and then just see what happens with what you have. And you can hear me doing that on my cover. And this is the way that it should be for anybody covering anything. Don't hold yourself to their standard. Be yourself based on their inspiration.
We'll just listen to this. We'll listen to it to the end.
Sure.
And then we'll have some final thoughts.
Baby, since I've been loving you, I'm about to lose my mind. Just one more. Just one more. Since I've been loving you, I wanna lose.
Beautiful. It would have been really fun to be there for the recording of that that song in the studio, just in that vibe, and well.
And hearing some of those notes, just to mention as well, I know that a lot of people say that John Paul Jones doesn't get mentioned enough, but just saying about his organ work here, and he's playing bass with the bass pedals. So having all of that coming together, it's just such a unique personality of a band. When really you hear a band and you hear their personality, you don't really hear each instrument individually, like, people coming together who are totally kind of unrelated and they sound like they're doing their own thing, but it's so interconnected. Yeah, unique band, unique set of performances, unique era, genre. I mean, it's so fun there are so many firsts with Led Zeppelin, and I feel like this song encapsulates a lot of those firsts, even though it was done, on Led Zeppelin 3. But it's also when they were getting more into writing. I mean, they really got that in Led Zeppelin 4 and Houses of the Holies, right? With writing songs, and this one is like the almost a bridge between like songwriting and jams, right? It's so neat. So anyway, thanks for walking through this with me. No problem at all, and and we got it done in just under about 5 hours, I think. But I think that's to be expected with. I mean, the length of the song, but the amount that's in there that you can really pick to pieces on. I mean, I'm sure that just with the guitar work, I could probably break this down for years. Just looking at, but it's when you tie it all together, and especially to have your insight from that vocalist point of view, but somebody who's actually sung through this song and knows how to approach it, and that link will be in the description below for you guys watching this video, so you guys can go and see Chris's cover of this song and the explanation as to how he achieves it and how best for you guys to achieve it if it is something that's on your to-do list to get this song down. But it certainly is a challenge. But thank you, Chris, so much for joining me tonight. It has been a pleasure, and it's great to have your insight from that vocalist point of view to break everything down for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So another huge thank you to Chris for joining me on the channel tonight. I hope you have enjoyed this video. As always, let me know what you guys think, and keep those suggestions and requests for future videos coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!